You're 8, ripped from your village to serve the emperor. First stop, a brutal surgery that steals your manhood forever. This is your life as a eunuch in medieval China, a roller coaster of power, pain, and palace secrets. Can you survive the cutthroat court and rise to glory? What would you sacrifice for a chance to shape an empire? You're about to dive into a jaw-dropping role that's been around since the 8th century BC. Eunuchs, castrated men serving in China's imperial palace, as ancient records spill. This isn't a gig you'd scribble on a wish list. You might be a prisoner, a slave, or a kid from a family so poor they're eating dirt, dragged into this life, sometimes even paying for someone else's crimes, like the rebel sons in the Northern Wei dynasty. Boys as young as 8 or 10 get the nod because their tiny bodies stand a better shot at surviving the nightmare surgery. It's a wild, twisted world where loyalty to the emperor comes with a price tag no one could imagine. In 986, Empress Dowager Zheng He of the Liao dynasty made jaws drop, ordering 100 boys under 10 castrated to serve as eunuchs in one brutal swoop. Centuries later, in 1791, the Qing dynasty followed suit, forcing 37 Taiwanese boysons of bandits into the same fate, wielding castration as both punishment and control. The procedure? Picture a rusty knife, a sizzling ladle, or a creepy contraption. Often with no anesthesia, half the boys didn't make it, as grim tales warn. If you're lucky enough to pull through, you're whisked to a silkworm house, a dim, lonely room to fend off infection while the trauma burrows deep. Even big names weren't spared. Sima Qian, a Han Dynasty scholar, got castrated for daring to sass the emperor, a stark reminder that no one's safe. The word eunuch traces back to the Greek eunuchos, meaning guardian of the bed. But in Chinese, you're a huangguan or taijian, fancy titles for a gut punch sacrifice. Back in the Qin dynasty, 221 to 206 BC, thousands of eunuchs like you laid the groundwork for this bizarre career. By the Han dynasty, 206 BC, 220 AD, you're not just sweeping floors, you're starting to flex serious political muscle. The Three Kingdoms period, 220 to 280 AD, tosses you into deadly power games where one slip means you're toast. But in the Tang dynasty, 618 to 907 AD, you're a rock star, leading armies and steering the empire's fate. The Song dynasty, 960 to 1279 AD, tries to yank your leash, but you're still strutting as a palace heavyweight. In the Yuan dynasty, 1271 to 1368 AD, you're scooped up as tribute from conquered folks, even Mongols, to serve. The Ming dynasty, 1368 to 1644 AD, is your time to shine, with up to 100,000 eunuchs calling the shots at its peak. By the Qing dynasty, 1644 to 1912 AD, your numbers dwindle to about 2,000, but your influence lingers like a stubborn ghost. The last eunuch, Sunday Youting, spilled the tea on this life until 1996, painting a picture of a bygone era. This is where your story kicks off a world where castration is both a brutal punishment and a warped ticket to power. Some families, like Sunday Youting's, shove you into this, hoping you'll climb out of poverty or dodge a cruel landlord. But let's be real, you're trading one rough road for another, with no guarantee you'll make it. The palace gates are looming, but first, you've got to survive the unthinkable. Buckle up, your saga's just getting started, and it's a wild ride. You've just pulled through castration barely, and that's a miracle in itself. You're stuck in a dim, stuffy silkworm house, praying infection doesn't sneak in to finish the job. Historical records paint a grim picture. About 50% of boys like you don't make it. The physical pain is like a relentless fire, but the mental blow hits harder as you grapple with losing your identity, your future, your everything. It's a brutal wake-up call, but you're still breathing, and the glittering palace is calling your name. As your body starts to mend, the real grind begins. You're not just some lowly servant, you're a fresh cog in the imperial machine, and you'd better spin fast or get crushed. They throw you into training, teaching you to read scrolls because literacy is non-negotiable. Martial arts come next to keep you sharp, And craftsmanship lessons make you a jack-of-all-trades. Eunuchs had to be versatile, as Ming Dynasty records show. Palace etiquette becomes your new gospel. Bow low, whisper softly, move like a shadow. One clumsy move, and you could be out or worse, facing the emperor's wrath. Your first gigs are as humble as it gets, serving steaming bowls of rice, scrubbing chamber floors, or darting through the forbidden city with urgent messages. Every step you take is watched by senior eunuchs, their eyes sharp as daggers, ready to pounce on any mistake. Spilling a teacup could spark a scandal, and you're learning fast that this world is as cutthroat as it is dazzling. But slowly, you're finding your footing, carving out a spot in this maze of silk and secrets. You're in deep now, and there's no turning back from this wild, high-stakes life. You've landed in the inner court of the Forbidden City, a dazzling but suffocating world where only castrated men like you can crash overnight, as historical accounts spill. This place is a gilded cage-think, sparkling halls and zero freedom. The eunuch hierarchy is cutthroat, with seniority and the emperor's favor deciding if you're a big shot or a nobody. Climbing the ranks is like a high-stakes game of chess, and trust me, it's ruthless. Your clothes? Loud, colorful robes that scream, eunuch, leaving zero room for personal flair. Life here is a wild mix of luxury and lockdown, and you're just getting started. Food comes straight from the palace kitchens, but if you're low on the totem pole, it's more watery gruel than imperial feast. Hope you like bland. You get to join in on festivals like Mid-Autumn or New Year, but don't get cozy. It's all work, not family fun time. Other eunuchs become your crew, your makeshift family, because no one else gets the bizarre life you're living. You form bonds tighter than the emperor's purse strings, sharing whispers in the shadows. Betray them, though, and you're toast in this glittering snake pit. Some of you turn into brainiacs, diving into niche skills like astronomy, medicine, or poetry. Knowledge is your ticket to clout, as Ming Dynasty records show. You might even tutor imperial princes, slipping them lessons and secrets while they're still dreaming of dragons. You're trusted with the juiciest state secrets, military plans, court gossip, the works. One slip of the tongue, and you're done for, maybe even losing your head. This palace life is a tightrope walk between opportunity and danger, and you're balancing on it every single day. You're not just scrubbing floors anymore. Some eunuchs, like you, can grab the reins and rule the palace. If you play your cards right, you could be the one pulling the emperor's strings. In the Han Dynasty, the 10 attendants ran the government like a well-oiled machine, until warlords turned them into history in 189 AD, as records grimly note. In the Ming Dynasty, Wei Zhongxian was basically the emperor's shadow, ruling with an iron fist and a smirk. You're in a world where a sharp-witted eunuch can outshine fancy nobles, but it's a dicey game-own wrong step, and you're out cold. Keep your eyes peeled, because this is your shot to shine. Take Zheng He, the eunuch admiral, who sailed 7 jaw-dropping voyages across the Indian Ocean, mapping new lands like China's own Columbus. Or Li Lianying in the Qing Dynasty, Empress Dowager Cixi's go-to guy, both feared and fawned over. You're the emperor's middleman, whispering to officials and clutching secrets tighter than a dragon's hoard. You could be running the empire's gold, collecting taxes, or even bossing the construction of the Forbidden City itself. Diplomacy? You're strutting to foreign courts, delivering the emperor's words like a golden-tongued envoy. This kind of clout makes you a palace rock star, but it's a slippery slope to trouble. Power can make you dizzy, and let's be honest, many eunuchs, maybe even you, get a taste for the good life. Bribes and smuggling become your not-so-secret side gig, piling up riches that'd make nobles green with envy. You're living better than some lords, but every shady deal breeds enemies, and the palace is crawling with them. Corruption's like a shadow you can't shake, and the court's watching your every move like hawks. You're balancing on a tightrope, juggling influence and danger with every step. Stay sharp, because this climb to power is as thrilling as it is treacherous. You've climbed high, and by the Tang Dynasty, eunuchs like you aren't just palace props, you're leading armies, crushing rebellions, and shaping the empire's fate like a rock star general. The Song dynasty tries to yank your chain, hoping to dial down your influence, but you're still a big deal, holding key palace roles with swagger. Come the Ming dynasty. It's your golden era, with 70,000 to 100,000 eunuchs practically running the court, as historical records crow. But here's the kicker. Those snooty scholar officials despise you, calling you non-men for sticking your nose in their business, according to ancient texts. Their shade fuels daily drama, turning the palace into a spicy battlefield where you're dodging verbal daggers left and right. Some emperors trust you more than their own officials, and that's like tossing a spark into a pile of fireworks-pure chaos. This trust lets you shape Chinese history, from tweaking big policies to pulling off palace coups that rewrite the rulebook. The Ming's Yongle emperor, for example, leaned hard on his eunuch admiral Zheng He to chase epic dreams across the seas. But all this power slaps a giant bullseye on your back. You're blamed for everything, from empty treasuries to rebellions you didn't start. The court's a chessboard, and you're a key player, maybe even a queen, but one bad move, and you're checkmated, with enemies circling like vultures. This power game is a testament to your grit. Rising from nobody to kingmaker is no joke. But let's be real. The cost is steep, with constant stress and a palace crawling with snakes ready to strike. Every decision feels like a gamble, and those scholar officials are just waiting for you to trip. Your influence is massive, but so is the risk, and the line between glory and disaster is razor thin. You're dancing on a knife's edge, juggling epic wins and the threat of losing it all. Stay sharp, because in this wild court, there's no room for slip-ups. Let's not sugarcoat it. Power's gone to your head, and maybe you're dabbling in some sketchy side gigs. Bribes, embezzlement, and smuggling are your new hobbies, piling up gold faster than you can count. You might even be running a sneaky black market in the palace, trading everything from shimmering silk to piping hot secrets. But don't get too comfy, this life's no bed of roses. You're catching verbal zingers and even fists from emperors, officials, and Yapotha eunuchs gunning for your spot. The court's a dazzling jungle, and you're dodging thorns at every turn. The pain's a beast body, heart, and Suland. Some eunuchs lean on opium to dull the ache, as grim historical accounts reveal. You could get sucked into deadly plots, like Zheng He in the Northern Wei dynasty, who went rogue and took out 2 emperors and a prince in one bloody spree. Or look at Li Zhou in the Tang dynasty, surviving a botched castration only to stab his master, An Lushan, in a jaw-dropping betrayal. You're the court's favorite punching bag, blamed for every imperial flop, cast as the slimy bad guy in their drama. Confucian scholars loathe you, hurling insults like poison and wild beasts, as Ming thinker Huang Zongxi spat. This eunuch life's a wild ride, but the dark side hits like a sledgehammer. You're living in a golden cage as a eunuch fancy digs, but so lonely it stings. No family, no kids, just endless days slaving away in the palace's sparkling maze. There's this gut-wrenching tale from Shanzi. A woman wed to a castrated man kept running off, shamed by his status, until her dad, broken by disgrace, hanged them both. Castrations left your body a mess, osteoporosis, brittle bones, all because your hormones are in chaos, as medical histories grimly show. The mental weight is a beast: depression, identity crises, and a constant pang for what you've lost. You're surrounded by the palace's glitz, but it's like you're screaming into an empty void. Without sexual desire, finding real connections is like chasing a mirage. Good luck, you're on your own. Jealousy among eunuchs is fiercer than a dragon's glare. You're all scrapping for the emperor's favor in a cutthroat, backstabbing brawl. You join secret societies, whispering in coded lingo to watch your back, as historical records suggest. You're dragged into palace rituals, weddings, funerals, but always stuck in the wings, never the star of the show. Your life's a wild paradox. Power and pain, loyalty and betrayal, all mashed together in this dazzling, dangerous world. When you finally kick the bucket, they bury you in a special cemetery, your tomb packed with treasures shouting your rank. Archaeological finds show eunuch graves dripping with luxe goods, a stark contrast to your often miserable existence. Rumors swirl about eunuchs getting cozy with palace women, but solid evidence is scarcer than a quiet day in court, so let's not go there. You're a survivor, but the scarce physical and emotional tell a raw story of sacrifice. In this palace, you're both a player and a pawn, balancing epic highs with crushing lows. It's a brutal, bittersweet grind, and that's the real you. By the late Qing dynasty, your once dazzling power is flickering like a candle in a storm, and the empire's crumbling right there with you. Your role's shrinking faster than a cheap robe in the wash, with only about 2,000 eunuchs left compared to the Ming dynasty's 100,000-strong crew. In 1911, the Qing dynasty implodes, and Emperor Puyi slams the door on the eunuch system, as historical records confirm. Some of you cling to the Forbidden City into the 1920s, holding on to a fading dream like it's the last dumpling at a feast. Sunday Youting, the last eunuch, made it to 1996, spilling tales of floggings, greed, and loyalty that could fill a scroll. You're part of a saga that's losing its shine, but oh, what a wild ride it's been. Sun's stories dish the dirt on the emperor's cruelty, and how many eunuchs, maybe even you, got seduced by gold and shady deals. But he also talked up the dedication, proving your life was a spicy mix of grit and heart. Your legacy's a head-scratcher, part victim, part schemer, part servant, part legend. It's like a half-epic, half-tragic tune that lingers in the palace halls. As the Forbidden City quiets down, you're left with a story that's as tangled and vivid as the empire itself. The stage is dark now, but your tale's etched in history's memory. By 1924, the Forbidden City's done with you. The last 1,500 eunuchs, including you, are kicked out, lugging your stuff in sacks and sobbing like it's the end of a tragic opera, as historical accounts vividly describe. Your world of silk robes and palace schemes is officially over, and the gates slam shut behind you. It's a rough goodbye to the glittering cage you've called home, where you've dodged daggers and chased power. Your story's fading into the history books, but it's left a mark on China's past as bold as a dragon's roar. You were part of something epic, a wild mix of sacrifice and swagger. As you walk away, the palace's golden walls stand silent, but your tale echoes through time. As the palace gates closed in 1924, your wild ride as a eunuch faded into history, but what a mark you left on China's sprawling tale. You weren't just a background player. Eunuchs like Kai Lun invented paper, changing how the world scribbles its thoughts, and Zheng He sailed oceans, putting China on the global map like a rock star. But let's not gloss over the grit. Your power often came with a side of corruption, abuse, and suffering that could fill a scroll of its own. Your life was a masterclass in sacrifice, your body, your identity, your freedom, all traded for a shot at greatness in the emperor's shadow. The eunuch system fizzled out with China's leap into the modern age, but your story still crackles in history books, films, and the whispers of the Forbidden City's halls. Today, tourists tread the same marble floors you once glided across, snapping selfies where you dodged plots and chased power, as historical accounts vividly recall. Your tale is a raw, unfiltered lesson in power, loyalty, and the gut-punch cost of ambition. It's a neon sign flashing how far humans will go through pain, loss, or betrayal for survival, or a chance to be legendary. Your resilience is the real MVP, shining brighter than the palace's gold tiles despite hardships that'd break most. As we wrap this saga, here's a question to chew on. In a world pulling you between loyalty and personal gain, what would you give up to leave a mark that outlives you? Your life as a eunuch was a chaotic, dazzling paradox, part hero, part schemerand. Its echoes challenge us to weigh the price of our own ambitions.